Hello, everybody.
Hi everyone,
TGIF.
bonjour à tous.
We have a special guest today. They're always special. We have Jennifer Geacone-Cruz, who was a guest speaker this year. Well, last year actually, a few days ago. So, 2008 LangFest 2018, we had her talk about uh, getting out of the intermediate desert. And that was a very popular talk. So, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
well, I see a few people
Hello.
saying hi on Facebook, so
Yeah, we have
hi to
Chanel.
you.
Hello, Chanel.
Yes, and I saw someone else.
Who else is on?
Oh well,
Is
actually
Michael
Michael
on?
Miller was supposed to be here. I think he's. Oh, but it was just before he said hi preemptively. I think. Anyways, that's so we're good. Yeah, first guest of the year.
That's right. That's right. First guest of 2019. We did have a session last week. Our Facebook live last week was a kind of an introductory live to say Happy New Year to everybody, and also
Yeah,
to
Happy New Year.
yeah, and also to introduce, well, to officially, I guess, announce online that we are holding our fourth edition of Langfest on the 23rd to 25th of August, and the tickets are on sale. And we did talk about, that we're selling tickets in batches. So the earlier you buy, the lower price batches you get, and as these run out, they go up in price. So anyway, so that was last week, and this week we officially have our first talk. And again, I'd like to remind you, Jennifer's talk was about getting out of the intermediate desert. She is a polyglot, obviously, and she's an expert at learning languages, especially even languages that are very far from the European languages, like Japanese, etc. So we're gonna give Jen a few minutes. Give us a little bit about talk to us a little bit about
Yeah.
you and languages.
Okay. Well, first I want to say 明けましておめでとうございます。
まあ、あげ
Happy
まし
New
てお
Year,
めでとうござい
everybody.
ます。
今年もよろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
I know there's a lot of Japanese learners out there now, people who are just starting to learn Japanese, maybe because they're thinking about heading out to Fukuoka in October for Polyglot Conference.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, big power to y'all if you're starting out with Japanese. Yeah, so I guess where to start? Well, actually, I gotta say, I got my LangFest early bird ticket already.
Ah,
So
Oh,
great,
I'll be
great.
that's
seeing
good.
y'all in August. Not gonna miss it. So
Great.
if you haven't gotten it, please do, because it would be awesome to see everybody there. Later on in this year. Yeah, I guess. Well, first of all, I guess it's probably going into. I'm just coming out of my second year. I'm heading towards the start of my third year being involved in the polyglot community. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty new to it, actually.
Well,
A lot of us are
yeah.
new to it.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but
we
it's.
we met under
Mhm.
special circumstances in Reykjavik. Uh,
Yeah.
was that your first polyglot event?
No, it was actually my second. I my first
The
polyglot
gathering
event was,
that year.
yeah, the gathering in Bratislava in May
Okay. Well, there
2016.
you go. So you did the whole
That's right,
circuit,
then
one
yes.
after the other. Yeah.
Yeah, so 2018 I did the triple cup, if you want to call it that.
Wow,
Nice.
the Grand Slam.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but I think it's been a really special time for me because my whole life I grew up in a multilingual polyglot household. My parents spoke some other languages. I grew up in a third culture. I grew up speaking Spanish and Italian. My mother's from Puerto Rico. My father's from Italy, and I grew up speaking English in the U.S. And yeah, it was always about, my parents always encouraged it. They always thought it would be the passport to having the world as my oyster, and everybody
Well, there
around me
you
always
go.
encouraged it. So yeah, I think in that case I've always been quite lucky, but at the same time, it's not like it comes super easy. I always struggle still to this day, and I think that it's a lot about coming to terms with what happens when you feel those struggles. Do you feel shame? Do you feel frustration? What do you do with it so that you don't quit. And today is International Quitters Day, by the way.
Oh, really?
And it's not about cigarettes.
Well, what the point? Well, because I do a lot with motivational psychology. Then International Quitters Day. This is statistically the day where people start to quit after they've made
Oh,
their
the resolutions. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. I thought it was, yeah, within 3 weeks or something like that, statistically.
Yeah. And what I found is that, that's kind of, it breaks my heart a little bit.
Right.
And if anybody will read the blog post that I've written, or after the talk recap that I'm going to put out a link for, it talks about how it breaks my heart to see that people often, when they make this resolution to take a really great step and learn a language at New Year's, it's a great time to do it, but it also has some really special pitfalls, and the 11 to 14 day mark is one of them.
Oh,
So
I see.
today, to commemorate International Quitters Day, I want to talk about motivation. I want to talk about inspiration, especially for intermediate.
All right.
If I may say, I think International Quitters Day hasn't been organized for a very long time because they've all quit.
Yeah, pretty much. Good point.
So before you jump
But
in,
after that, it's International, I guess, Procrastinators Day. So but they'll do it tomorrow.
so before you jump into your discussion here, let's welcome a few more people have chimed in. We do have Miguel. He's a loyal fan to LangFest and all the polyglot events, and I think he also did the triple event this year. We also have on our YouTube side, this is running live on Facebook and on YouTube at the same time, and we have Philodice. I'm not sure if I say that correctly, but so he's a Duolingo event coordinator of Esperanto in Arizona. So for folks who don't know, Nicolas, who's with us right now, he is the president of the Quebec Esperanto Association. So Esperanto is a big thing. Do you speak Esperanto? Did you study that?
No, and my good friend Chuck. Yes,
our good friend.
Let's say Mr. Esperanto.
That's
I
right.
in Berlin as well.
Oh, there you go. On our YouTube side, we also have Paul Howlett. He also chimed in saying saluton. So
yes.
I do suppose he's
Mi salutas ĉiujn esperantistojn kiuj spektas la videaĵon nun.
Go for it.
Bonvenon al ĉiuj.
At least I know my saluton. But yeah,
Philodice says, I'm also a belly dancer, he says. All right.
Excellent.
Why not?
So many talents in our group.
Hey, we're all polys, right? I mean, polyglot, but definitely poly-talented for many of the folks here.
We're probably all polymaths as well.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
What was it that we had in 2017?
That talk by Kirsten, was it?
No, it was by Jana. Jana Thomas.
Multi-potentialites.
I don't remember what the term was.
Multi-potentialites.
Anyways, well, those bring to mind, but multi-potentialites. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Exactly. That was a great talk.
It was.
Philodice says, I've got German, Spanish, Esperanto, and Japanese. So like you said, Japanese is a popular language. We did have a Japanese workshop given by my mother, who's a Japanese professor, who was a Japanese professor back when she was living in Taiwan at the university. So she gave a beginners and intermediate level Japanese workshop. So high attendance. It's quite surprising. So Japanese and Mandarin are still very popular languages in the circuit.
Definitely.
Yourself? Why Japanese yourself? How did you? Your relationship with Japanese, is this a peculiar one?
It has to do with my dad, actually.
Italian, didn't you say?
Yeah, my dad was Italian, but my dad was also working with electronics and technology and business machines.
There you go.
And he was working for NCR and for the North American Sales Department. He was heading that up. So NCR is a big company, at least at that time in the 80s. I'm a bit old, actually. And gonna have my birthday soon.
What?
Yes. And in the early 80s into the 90s, NCR was, if you're familiar with Japanese business, was a huge business machines company. So my dad from the 70s on, he used to spend a lot of time in Japan, and both my parents had a very fond relationship with Japanese culture. So I grew up eating sushi. My parents had a lot of reproduction Japanese art in the
There you
house.
go. And you're not allergic to sushi. That's a good thing, right?
No, just tofu and miso, actually.
Really? You are allergic to soybean?
Yeah. But it's actually quite easy to avoid. I rarely ever had a problem. So yeah, but I thought, okay, like at school they were only offering Spanish really. So my mother found a way to get me to get a French class. So instead of Spanish, I was taking French, and I took French all the way up until the end of high school. And when it was time for me to choose which languages I would concentrate on in university, I thought to myself, well, what's the point in doing any Romance languages? I should probably just do, and I had already been sort of self-studying from about like 16 years old. I'd been slowly starting to self-study Japanese.
Okay.
So I just thought, well, there needs to be a balance. There needs to be some kind of, I have all of these Romance languages, and some of them was better at than others, or because I had more occasion to practice. And then I just thought I really need to go into a different direction.
Did you actually live in Japan, or?
Yeah, I did. I lived for 10 years.
Okay, but that was like separate from when your parents were going there all the time.
Yeah, that was totally. I went on my own.
And that's after you've learned Japanese.
Yeah, I actually when I got to Japan, I was fluent in Japanese, and I had an EQ certificate already.
Well, there you go. So, there you go. For those who don't know, NIKU literally means second level, and it's actually the reverse. Okay, the lower the level, the better it is. So the best level is the IQ, which is the first level. So you on your own, with a little motivation from your childhood, you decided you're going to do Japanese. Like Philo DJ says, isn't food good enough reason to learn Japanese? Or what do you think?
Exactly. Yeah. It really is. It really is. And I think that like food and music, films, these things.
Music. Well, that's not one that comes up very often. Okay.
Really? You think so?
Well, so you mean J-pop, and not like shamisen,
Well, I was interested.
Shakuhachi and.
I was interested in shakuhachi, samisen,
really?
that kind of thing, because I also had been playing piano, and my family's a very musical family. My brother's a jazz composer, so I was also very interested in classical music from different cultures.
Wow.
My parents did a good job with raising my brother and I to appreciate the traditional things, but I was also interested in J-pop, and I mean, growing up in the New York City metro area, we had Korean television, we had Japanese television, we had Chinese television. So I also had a bit of a chance. It was only a couple hours a day. And it was often on when I wasn't home and I was actually at school. So I would set the VCR to tape it, and then I'd come home after school and watch it. And my mom would watch it with me, and she actually would learn a little bit of Japanese, or she would learn a few words here and there, and she quite enjoyed watching Japanese game shows. So like Warate Itomo, which is a really popular variety show, we used to watch that. This was like heading into the heyday of Snap. So
wow. Yeah, you really know your Japan very well.
Yeah, so that was also a big perk, was being able to watch some of that. I mean, this was before like major internet connections as well. So now you can just watch it. You can stream it. I mean, even they have like, Terrace House Ainori is starting a new season, and they're showing it on Netflix. So
I don't hear Nicola laughing, because these are all just very typical, programs in Japan, and Ainori.
I mean, even Terrace House is becoming popular, and I think people have it a lot easier now because
it is. Well, look,
like widely available media.
We live, in Canada, and not even in the metropolitan area of Montreal. We're like an hour outside, and my mom is, she's like on TV, like 90%, on YouTube, 90% of her waking hours, watching Japanese programs one after another. I mean, it's just become so easy for her to access that. When I was living in Japan, this is 2003 to 2014, I used to have to record on DVD. I mean, I was lucky I had DVDs, not cassette tape. At the very beginning, it was cassettes, okay, like VHS, literally. But around 2005-ish to 2008 or 9, I would record DVD after DVD, and pile those up and bring it back to Canada every time I went back, and she would consume those. And then once these various websites popped up, she's learned how to watch those, and the requirement for the DVDs went down. Although her computer's always filled with viruses, but oh well.
My mom used to tape the shows for me when I went away to university. I mean, this was in the late 90s. I moved to Pennsylvania and went to Penn State University undergrad.
We all learn a lot, through by consuming, what we like, what we find interesting, or as Dr. Stephen Krashen would say, right? It's consuming something
with
that's
the
compelling.
content, and
Yeah.
I used to watch Univision all the time when I was at the university to learn Spanish. So.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about motivation and what really grabs our brain.
Well, there you go.
Get over these things. Because I mean, if anybody caught my talk, I talked about sort of self-scripting, or putting yourself into the situation that you're going to encounter, or you might like to learn about being able to express yourself in. And sometimes you can use this, sort of as a metaphor or a substrate, or, kind of like putting yourself in a TV show, if you want to imagine it that way. It's sort of what is your script? What are you going to do or say? Maybe it's a little bit improvised. You have to leave some room for improvisation. And this is one of the techniques that I think is most important for intermediates when they start to sort of lose interest, or feel stuck, or feel like they aren't making the progress that they want to be making. They sort of have to break out of these traditional kinds of ideas about what progress actually means and how progress actually happens. And this is what I was really trying to emphasize in my talk in August, because language learning is not a linear thing. And this is exactly what, we sort of talk about when we feel like people just quit suddenly. Beginners are kind of a small group, and they're very well defined. And I think some of you maybe have heard me say this before. It's a small group. It's very well defined. We know what our job is as a beginner. We know, and it's also new. We've got this new task energy where we're very excited. It's all new. We progress. We feel great.
Yeah, progress is much easier to notice when you're a beginner.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Your aha moments come very fast and quick.
But once you get into the intermediate level, you have to be able to appreciate the micro progress, guys. And feed off of that.
And also, you need to change your idea about what progress is. Progress isn't about necessarily learning new things all the time. It might be about conquering those fossilized errors. One of the biggest stumbling blocks for intermediates are fossilized errors. I have loads of them in German that I constantly am trying to work on, and slowly I'm ticking them off my list, actually. So I always feel a very deep sense of meaningful satisfaction when I realize that I've mostly avoided a fossilized error for a long time, or I've completely gotten rid of it, and I say, oh wait, when was the last time I caught myself making that mistake? Or I try to quantify it and note down when I catch myself making that mistake, so that I see how it's decreasing over time. I know not everybody's that kind of self-monitoring, but
you're right. I fully agree. As they say, what you can measure can improve. If you don't measure it, then it's very hard to be able to appreciate that the progress. So.
But you don't have to be so self-monitoring all the time either. I mean, success.
You have to do the stats every day.
Yeah. I mean, it's really about changing when you have to change your idea of what success is when you become an intermediate, because it's not the same type of model as it is when you're a beginner. It's about getting rid of these fossilized errors. It's about polishing your vocabulary, making new connections in your vocabulary, different ways to use words that you already have in your vocabulary that are maybe more casual, vernacular, slang, or ways to combine two different words together. I'm also thinking about this for Japanese and probably also Chinese learners, and maybe also Korean learners, when you can sort of Lego two word parts together to make different word combinations, especially for say kanji or learning kanji or something like that. that you can learn a large chunk of words if you just learn about 4 or 5 kanji at once. And if you put them together, they very often are making a very sizable volume of new and relatively sophisticated vocabulary.
All right. So Jen, you're a great, language expert. Polyglot. You know how to learn. You know how to find the bits and pieces that's required for progress. So what do you do? On a daily basis. What are your projects? What do you? Who is Jen?
I mean, I do a lot of language learning every day.
I saw your website, and I rarely see somebody who can do so many things but be so convincing. And I mean, the way you write, it's captivating. I really found it very interesting. I mean, if you break it down, I'm gonna say, well, you're a jack of all trades, master of all. Because you're in all different directions, but convincingly, I think. So how do you define yourself now? What do you do?
I'm just me. I do what I do. Like I know what I know what I like in life. I know what interests me. I go after it. I mean, everybody's like, oh, like, what does that have to do with that? And I say, well, with me, this,
I mean, I think we're a lot of us, at least the three of us, I think we're in that situation. We have, many different things, activities, or the professional life is so different from language projects, and it's for me, I guess for me it's probably for you as well. It's I guess when you do a lot of one of them, it's a relief to be able to go to something completely different. Just take your mind off of it, then you can come back. I don't know. I find it. I'd be doing the same thing all the time, and I'd get bored. I'd get bored so fast,
Yeah, and for me, life has always been about connecting things, and for me, this is actually like one of the most kind of important ideas about language learning is making connections. And when somebody says to me, like, oh, like, what does Japanese have to do with Spanish? Excuse me, it's got a lot to do with each other. They have similar sometimes similar vocabulary, sometimes similar grammar. They have very compatible pronunciation styles.
Yes.
And these kind of connections, as you start to study more and more languages, these connections can become really invaluable as shortcuts, as hacks, as mnemonic devices for really internalizing and integrating that new knowledge so that you can kind of, cut down on your time in terms of like making it knowledge that really sticks. And I do think it's about connections for anything you're learning, whether it's, chemistry or I don't know, whatever else it is. It's about the same thing for relationships with people, and language is one of our fundamental bases for these kinds of things. So like also it's about connecting with people and also connecting with yourself and being authentic about it. And this is something else I talk about when it comes to like, sort of finding a way to sort of find your motivation again in language learning is about like making it your own, really making it yours instead of what the textbook says it should be, or instead of what the outside world says it should be, or people that you might be comparing yourself to progress wise are doing, and having you feel the illusion of what that should be. You have to really how would you say it yourself? And I think once you find a way to do that, it may be imperfect, it may have some mistakes in it at first, but if you're fundamentally getting your point across and you're getting across in a way that's authentically yours, that's going to stay and do a lot more, not only for your communication, but also for how you inhabit the language as a person.
So the way you talk, I see you as a language consultant. I suppose you do that. You do consulting. But do you teach languages per se?
I did do in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, I did do in the past. I was working with language pedagogy and curriculum development.
Oh, wow.
And for about, just about 10 years or so.
Oh, there you go.
Much of it in Japan. I was also teaching at Waseda University in the School of International Liberal Studies.
Okay.
So I was working with developing curriculums for students who were learning not only English as a second language, but also learning other subjects in English as their second language. So studying economics in English.
For our audience who don't know, Waseda is a very, very highly highly high standard university in Japan. So it's one of the top three, I would say. So wow, you've worked there and built curriculums there. That's quite impressive. That is quite impressive.
It was a great place to work. I mean, the faculty were really great. The students were really wonderful, and it was really just a really great time to be there. And I'm grateful for the experience. So yeah, I worked in education for a long time, and I just thought, okay, like I moved out of that into publishing for a while, doing sort of like cultural mediation for publishing. And then eventually I found myself working in the tech area. And a few years ago, I was able to, by chance, kind of merge together by working for an application that was teaching languages, to merge together my psycholinguistics experience, my digital marketing experience, and like my branding experience, I guess, to sort of put all of that together and really be able to help steer products or people or different platforms or organizations that want to work with language education, education policy, to do the things that actually language learners really need, because sometimes they make this policy, but it's not really what learners need or want.
All right.
So that's some of what I do. I do some other things as well. But
so
yeah,
what's in the horizon for you in 2019 and hell and beyond?
Well, I hopefully would like to speak at some more.
Just give me the top 500, okay?
Okay. I'd like to speak some more at some of our polyglot events. So hopefully I'll be putting in some proposals for talks, and hopefully they're topics people want to hear about.
Will you be going to Fukuoka?
I plan to.
All right.
I plan to. So I already have some ideas for proposals. So if you're ready for that. But hopefully I'll have some topics that interest people and they'll get picked up. I would like to turn the talk that I gave in Montreal about intermediate language learning. I'd love to turn that into a larger format. Either like as a longer talk, so at an event that has a longer slot, or to turn it into a workshop over a few hours.
Nice.
Work with people more one-on-one in a
workshop.
Sort of
that's interesting.
or seminar.
Yeah.
Or maybe to do it as an online workshop or seminar as well. I've been thinking about that. I have been toying with the idea of turning it also into a book.
Wow. So how many gens do we need to do that?
Well, luckily for me, I have some time, and since a lot of what I'm doing is writing, so that fits into what I do pretty much every day. I don't know. It really depends on how people respond to these ideas, and if it's what they really want. I mean, if people are like, nah, we don't care, then I'm not going to do it. And also if there's something else that they would like to see more, I'm perfectly happy to do that as well.
Just doing a talk, being interactive, and trying to gauge what the audience wants. I guess part of the process, probably something that will sort of put you on the track to doing something that will capture people's attention.
Well, Philo Dice, who's been watching our show since the beginning, says, well, for one, he says, I'm a lazy lasagna compared to her. but he does recommend writing that book. So you do have some audience feedback here saying writing the book is, you'll have at least one person who's looking for it, and us too, so that's 3.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, and this is, I'm constantly asking for feedback. So, I mean, there's several ways to reach me. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me on Twitter. You can reach me through my website. There's a contact page where you can email me. If you just punch in my name, you can probably find me in the search results on Google. And there's some pretty easy ways to contact me there, but I'm always looking for feedback after one of my talks, and many of you have wonderful feedback.
When I try to find you, I always write out Jennifer Geacone-Cruz, because I can never remember that handle name that you have. I know Mise. Now I think I got it. I know Mise Dietrichs.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
At the time, I was a editing intern at Harper's Bazaar in Japan, which is like a big fashion magazine, and I had a lot of work to do, and I was kind of underpaid, and in a fit of like when sort of Twitter was sort of getting its start, I decided to choose my handle. And at the time, it was kind of the fashion to choose something a little bit anonymous. And I just thought, I'm an underpaid editor, and I just thought I'll go for the Latin version of that. And so it's a kind of wordplay in Latin, and
That's so contradictory, though. I'm gonna go on social media and let everybody find me, but I'm gonna make the hardest name possible. People can't remember it.
But people don't forget it. Once they know it, they don't forget it.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have to wrap it up pretty soon. It was most interesting, and that's how it always goes. You know, it's so interesting. We don't want to stop, but it is time to say goodbye soon. We wish you the best of 2019. We all know you're going to be running all over the place.
Yeah.
We definitely
go to LangFest, and I understand, so that's good.
Yeah.
There you go. We will see you in August, but you know, hopefully you could do something before that also. Let's try to think about something you could work together and.
Yeah, let's do it. And I'm definitely considering doing a workshop or seminar. So
well, there you go. Workshop. That's
any
very
feedback,
interesting.
I'd be totally down with that.
All right,
Great.
so folks, comment in the comment section what you want Jen to do. You know, belly dancing lessons is also acceptable. And we're gonna have to wrap it up. We will see you next week. Main post, same time, same channel. Do check us out on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Until
Thanks,
then.
everybody.
All right.
Makoto ni
ありがとうございました。
arigatou gozaimashita.
ありがとうございます。またね。
またね。バイ。
Bye.